Welcome back to another Sunday prep day. As always, I'm going to prepare all my veggies and I'm going to make a few other things like I'm going to make a roasted salsa, which is why I cut this head of garlic in half and I'm just wrapping that in some foil. I am also going to make some carnitas and what else? Some pickled carrots and some tomato soup. So I have my Ninja Foodi here. I'm just going to put in a bit of oil. And to that, I will add my garlic. I cut it in half so when it's done, I can easily squeeze the garlic cloves out and also wrap it in foil because I don't want it to burn. So put that in. I have some shallots. Just going to cut the tips and the ends off. So as always, I'll go over the menu. So for lunch today, as usual, sandwiches, because it's my cheat day. I don't usually have carbs for lunch, except on the weekend. So actually, these are quite big, so I'm going to cut them in half. And then for dinner, I don't know yet. I was planning everything. I'm like, I just have no idea what I want. So I'm going to get some kind of takeout, and then always the question is, what do I want? I don't really know yet. Maybe some Chinese. I don't know. Yeah, let me just dice up an onion for stir fry and for tuna salad. And while I cut this, we were on Monday. So for lunch, I'm going to have some freshly made tomato soup. And then for dinner, I bought some falafel, so I'm going to do a falafel bowl with couscous. So I'm going to make like a couscous salad. So I'll do cucumber, peppers, some stock, some lime, a lot of parsley. I'm just going to serve that with some falafel on top. Then on Tuesday for lunch, I'm going to make some beef kofta. And I'm going to have that with, I think, some broccoli. I'm going to do broccoli one day and cauliflower another. So I might switch that up. Who knows? And then for dinner, I do Taco Tuesdays. So in this case, I'm going to have some carnitas. Then for lunch on Wednesday, I'm going to make a low-carb stir-fry with some chicken, and I'll probably use up some broccoli stems for that as well. And then for dinner, I'm going to do some carnitas rice bowl, since I'll have some carnitas left, because when you make it, you're not just going to make it for one portion, are you? So I'll have that with the roasted salsa, the same as the carnitas that I'm going to have on Tuesday with just the tortillas. And maybe some corn. I still have some canned corn in the pantry. And then I'm just cutting up this onion for the carnitas and for the soup. So yeah, the rice bowl. Then for Tuesday, for lunch, I think I'm going to do cauliflower, like a cauliflower mash with some chicken. And then for dinner, I'm going to do some, am I going to do a rice bowl or a noodle bowl? Since I'm already having rice on Wednesday, some lime cilantro rice, I think, with the carnitas rice bowl, I might do some noodles, like some rice noodles or vermicelli noodles or something like that with some gochujang chicken. And for that, I'll also make some pickled carrots just for a little bit of color. And they're quite easy to make, and I have some carrots that need to be used up anyway, so we'll make that in a little bit. Then we are on Friday, so tuna salad on some low-carb crackers. I just take a can of tuna, mix that with mayo and some celery. I'll have some finely diced red onion in there as well. That should be pretty tasty. And then for dinner, I'm going to do some fish tacos with like a salsa. Or maybe I'll use the leftover roasted salsa if I have some left over. And yeah, probably some cod or something. I'll see what kind of fish I have in the freezer. So for the pickled carrots, I'm going to take a few of these smaller cloves of garlic and just throw them in before I forget. And then for the carnitas, I need some garlic, but I'll just leave the cloves whole because they'll cook for forever and they'll pretty much disintegrate, so I don't need to cut them. And the rest I'll just cut up for the stir fry and things like that. So just a couple of cloves and I'll just quickly work through that. Next up, we should probably work on some more things for the roasted salsa, so we can just get that going. So I have some cherry tomato that I'm just going to take off the stem and throw those in whole. So I just got a whole little container. And I have some chilies. I'll throw those in. And I'll do a whole bell pepper as well. So a little bit more oil on the top. So yeah, we have shallots, we have garlic, chilies, pepper, and tomatoes. And I'm just going to grill that. It's going to take probably about 20 minutes. I'm going to do 10 first so that it can start to blacken on one side because you want the skin of the peppers and the chilies to blacken so you can peel them. So 10 minutes, see if it starts to blacken, turn everything around so the other side can blacken as well. So probably about 20 minutes total. So now we have some peppers. That's going to go in the salsa and in my couscous salad. So I'm just going to cut them into cubes by cutting lengthwise first. And then cut across. Oftentimes you'll make a couscous salad with tomatoes. I don't really like raw tomatoes that much. I don't mind them in a sauce or a soup or anything like that, but just raw tomatoes are not really my jam. So I usually just use peppers because I do actually like peppers a lot. Because I like doing a bunch of different colors, I'm also going to do yellow pepper. What is your favorite pepper? Mine are just yellow and red. Green, I'll use them, but they're not my favorite. They tend to be a little more bitter. But yeah, again, just cut it lengthwise. Then cut across for some cubes. And I will do the exact same for the other half. Alright, next up, some chilies. So these are going to go in the stir fry and in the salsa and in the... what else are they going to go in? The carnitas. So I'll just give them a quick chop. And as always, I'm just leaving the seeds in because they're not that spicy. It's not worth taking the seeds out. Then next up, some celery. So one of these I'm going to cut a little finer than the rest because that is going to go in my tuna salad. And I like a little bit of crunch in my tuna salad, but I don't want it to be too much. And the other ones are going to go into soup, so that's going to cook nice and long, so I don't need it that fine. I'm not going to blend my soup this time. I'm going to leave it chunky, so I don't want it too big, but I don't need it really fine. So that is for the soup. Then also for the soup, I'm gonna do some carrots. So 2 should be enough for that. And again, I don't need it too fine because it's gonna cook for a long time, but I'm not gonna strain out or blend it, so I want it reasonably fine. So that is ready for the soup. And then I also want some carrots for my pickled carrots, obviously. So I'm gonna cut these tips off, and I'll get my julienne slicer and just get that nice and fine. There we go. And I'll just put that directly into the jar. I also have that clove of garlic in. And once I'm finished cutting all the vegetables, I'll turn these into some pickled carrots. What next? Let's do some cucumber. So this is going to go in my couscous salad. So I'm just going to cut some cubes. So cut it into slices first, long way, and the other way. And then cut across. Now I also need some cucumber for my fresh salsa, but that's not going to be Friday or maybe Wednesday. But if I cut it this fine with cucumber, I don't think it's going to last a week. Other things, they usually last me until Thursday or Friday, but cucumber will just dry out. So I'm only going to do it for the couscous salad now, if not for the salsa. Then I need some broccoli. First we'll check on this. It is starting to get some color on it, but it's not quite there. So I'm gonna do another 10 minutes, check again, and and either it's done or it needs a couple minutes more. We'll just see when we get there. So I'm gonna cut off some florets for one meal. So you know what? I'll just do the whole thing. Just gonna make a bigger portion. And I'm just gonna cut these into bite-sized pieces. I'd say this is about a portion and a half, but I'll just use it all up. And I can use some of the florets in the stir fry as well, so just use up what you have. Can never go wrong with eating more veg. There we go, and then for the stems, I'm just gonna take the leaves off and those remnants of leaves. There we go. And first, these little stalks I'll just shave off. And you could absolutely grate these and make like a broccoli rice, but that's more work than I'm wanting to put in because this is fine enough for my taste. I don't really mind. If you have a problem with broccoli stems and want to try and use them, and cutting them finer makes you want to eat them more, by all means. But yeah, I'm just cutting these in half and then in half again. And just cutting up these stems nice and fine. And then these very ends I'm not going to use because that's bottom piece is always a bit dry. So put that in a container. And then I also need some cauliflower because, like I said, I'm going to do like a cauliflower mash with some chicken. So I'm just going to take some of these florets off, and if they're big I'll cut them in half, but otherwise I'll just leave them as they are. And again, I'm just doing enough for about a portion. I didn't actually mean to take the whole thing off the stem, but that's how I went. So I'll cut this in half because that's a bit bigger. I always try and leave vegetables like cauliflower or broccoli on the stem if I'm not using the whole thing, because if you leave it on the stem, it's going to last a lot longer in the fridge. So it's not that big of a deal, but if I can, I absolutely will. So I'll do one more. That seems about enough for one portion of cauliflower mash. So that is done. Then cilantro. I'm going to do 2 bunches. I'm saving the stems. If you watched any of my videos before, you know I like using them for things like curries. Just roll it up a bit tighter and cut it nice and fine. Now, one of these bunches is going to go in my roasted salsa, which is going to go in the blender, so it doesn't need to be too fine, but since I'm cutting it anyway, I might as well just cut it both. And we'll just keep working on this until it's nice and fine. And while we're on herbs, let's do some parsley as well. Not gonna need the whole bunch. This is probably gonna be enough. So again, just get it a bit rolled up tight. Give it a rough cut first. And then work your knife through until it's as fine as you like. And if you're not that quick with the knife, just take your time. You know, we're not professional chefs. I'm not a professional chef either. My knife skills are not the greatest in the world, but just go however fast you are comfortable with. Okay, I'm done with chopping. I'm going to clean up a bit now, and then we'll get started on all the other things. Okay, the vegetables were roasted. You can see they have a nice char on them now, so I'm just going to let them cool down. And the liquid I put in my blender already, because you don't want to waste that liquid. Quickly rinsed out the pot, and now I'm just heating it up with a little bit of oil to start on my soup. And as you can hear from the sizzle, that is nice and hot, so I'm going to throw in my onion. And here I have carrots and celery. And some whole cloves of garlic. And I'll add in a pinch of salt. And you know what? I actually like a bit of pepper in my tomato soup as well. So I'll put in some peppers, a few chilies, and we'll just let that saute. And then in the meantime, we're also going to heat up my other Ninja Foodi to make the carnitas. So I'll put a bit of oil in. A nice coat, and just let that heat up. And while that oil is heating up, we'll also start on our pickled carrots. So here I have a nice little saucepan on the heat, and I'll add some rice vinegar. You can use any vinegar. Rice vinegar is just my vinegar of choice. I'll add a little splash of water. Pinch of salt, and a little bit of sugar. Maybe a tablespoon, probably a little bit less. And that I will just heat up until all the sugar and the salt have dissolved. So until around boiling point. In the meantime, my pan is nice and hot, so I'm going to add my pork. I just have some stewing pork. Add a pinch of salt to that as well. And I'm just going to get a little bit of color on there. It doesn't need to be cooked all the way through, it just needs to have a bit of color. Meanwhile, the vinegar has come to a simmer. So again, this is just some shredded up carrot and some cloves of garlic. And we're just going to pour this over. Make sure everything is submerged. And I'll just set this aside to cool down. And my vegetables for the soup have softened. So I'm just going to add some tomatoes now. Just using canned, and you can use diced or whole tomatoes. These are whole. Doesn't really matter because they're going to break down. And I'm just going to use a little bit of water to rinse out the can, because I need to add water anyway. And since I have a can open, I'm going to add some chipotles in adobo, just to make it a bit spicier. And to that, I'm also going to add some parsley, but I don't want the leaves in there, so I'm just taking these whole stems and leaving them whole so I can just easily fish them out later. I need a little bit more water. And now I'll just switch this from saute to pressure. You can totally just let it simmer if you don't have a pressure cooker, but if you do have a pressure cooker like I do, things are going to go a lot quicker. And it makes a lot of sense for filming as well. So I want everything to be completely soft, so I'll just do 40 minutes, make sure the valve is closed, high pressure, and that can do its thing. And in the meantime, the beef has some color on it, so I'm going to add some onion, my whole cloves of garlic, and a couple of chilies. And I'm just going to saute this down a bit as well. And now that the vegetables have softened and the meat is nice and brown, I'm going to add a stock cube, chicken stock. I'll add enough water to mostly submerge the meat. And before I forget, I'm also going to add the juice of 1 lime. And again, you can absolutely slow cook this, but since I have a pressure cooker, I'm just going to do 45 minutes until the pork falls apart. So those are both doing their thing. The peppers and chilies are still cooling off before I can peel them. So yeah, I'll just see you in a bit when I make the salsa. Alright, let's make the salsa. I did already peel the peppers and the chilies and took the seeds out because I've shown you that a million times already. I don't think you need to see that again. So I have my garlic, onions, chilies, peppers, and tomatoes, and I'm just going to add in a bunch of cilantro. And a little bit of lime juice. Add in some cumin. And some salt. And then we're just going to blitz this up until it's a nice smooth sauce. We will give it a little taste. Yeah, I don't think that needs any more. Salt is perfect. So I can just put that in a different container now so I can go in the fridge. But yeah, that's the salsa prep. So now we're just going to wait for the soup and for the carnitas. And that's it. Soup is done. Pork is done. I just shredded that. I have my salsa. I have my pickled carrots. So all my veggies in the fridge. I have everything ready to go for when I make a lunch or dinner. So if you like this, I do this every single Sunday. Leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching. Until next time, bye for now.